Hey everybody, what's good? What's going on? JB here with another CyberInsight live stream video. Happy to have everyone back. It's been a little bit. We kind of started to get back in the swing of things a couple weeks ago with doing a burp suite video. I actually put out a question on Twitter, I think it was maybe a week or so ago, asking about other types of content from the TryHackMe rooms that people would be interested in seeing. And surprisingly, a large majority of folks actually wanted to see more blue team related defense type of videos. So that's what we're going to do today. We're going to do an intro to Splunk. TryHackMe actually does have a few different rooms that are specific to Splunk and how it operates as a SIEM and different things that we can do as far as looking at alerting and different types of logs that are coming in and trying to identify different types of events within environments. And so that's what we're going to do today is we're kind of going to just jump into that and get a little bit of a taste for what Splunk is. Hopefully, if you haven't had any background with it, then this will be a useful video for you. So before we jump into that, as always, make sure you smash the like button, subscribe, share this with your friends who might find this helpful or useful. If you want to say hi, go ahead and drop a comment in the comment section, and we can chat about this or whatever else is on your mind, and we'll kind of just go from there. So, see some folks coming in here right now. Go ahead and throw those up real quick before we move over. What's up, Eric? What's good, man? Yeah, gonna be doing some blue team stuff. Brandon, what's up, man? I'm surprised you're not in the gym right now. uh, all right, so let me go ahead and we will hop over into my browser here. So still got some more folks coming in. Hey everybody, what's good? Let's see. All right. So, Splunk, if you're not familiar with what it is, it's probably one of the most widely used SIMs that is out on the market, especially from the perspective of it being a paid SIM. Now, if you aren't familiar with what a SIM is, it's a security information and event management tool. What does that mean? Well, it means that it is a tool set that allows us to, in essence, collect different types of event logs from all the different devices within our environment. With all of those kind of consolidated in one place, we can have different types of rules that we can set up. Some are come out of the box, other ones that we can develop in-house that look for different types of security relevant events that happen. And then based off of that, our blue teamers or SOC analysts or even our IT engineers or ops technicians or whoever it is that's interested in this particular information dealing with these different applications and devices are able to kind of just have a very, I hate using this term, single pane of glass, but can have a central place where they're able to look at the different types of security events that are happening within the environment. So as I mentioned, Splunk, you do actually have to pay for it once you get above kind of like their free use license. I want to say, I think it's 10 gigs of traffic a day you can do for free, and anything above that, you're going to end up paying. There are other SIMs that a lot of different organizations will use depending upon their budget. Elk is another one that's very, very popular, and maybe we'll do some videos on that. But yeah, so let's just kind of go in and take a look kind of at the background that they have on Splunk. I already spun up the machine that comes along with this lab. I think let's just take a quick look to see what we're going to be covering today. Just kind of an intro to Splunk. Single pane of glass. Yeah, exactly. uh, let's see. So we're going to talk about kind of just moving around in Splunk. The different types of apps that you can have within there to be able to ingest and provide rule sets for different types of events that are coming in, different ways that you can add data into Splunk, whether or not we're going to be talking about using forwarders, which are agents that we can put on different devices, or actually using syslog, or actually manually ingesting log data. And then Splunk Queries is kind of, what you do as far as trying to identify different things out of those logs that are coming in, looking for different events, and kind of searching for specific types of information. And Splunk has its own querying language that we use to be able to do that. Then we're going to talk about some Sigma rules, dashboards, and visualizations, which is another big thing. If you sit in a SOC, you're probably going to be dealing with a whole bunch of different dashboards. Alerting, which is also another key thing that we're going to be able to do with Splunk from the perspective of once you identify kind of these key security events, what do you want to do with that information, right? Do you want to send off alerts to your blue team or your SOC analysts? Do you want to create alerts that have different thresholds, things like that? And then we'll go ahead and wrap it up. So yeah, let's see what they have to say about Splunk and see how much of what I just spit out is actually what they're going to be saying. So yeah, typically when people think of a SIEM, they think of Splunk. It boasts 91 of the Fortune 100 use Splunk. Yeah, and all of those companies obviously have a lot of money, which, as I mentioned, Splunk does cost some money, and the price goes up depending upon the usage of the amount of data that it's processing per day. It's not only used for security, you could use it for data analysis, DevOps, for sure. So not only security events, but maybe it's operational events that are happening. I've seen it used for monitoring different types of traffic, used for different types of networking events. So let's say different types of BGP events that might indicate some type of routing problem across the network. You can definitely collect that type of information within Splunk and send off the right type of alerts for that. So kind of talking about what a SIEM is. We're talking about central location, able to collect log data from multiple sources and aggregate that. And there's 3 critical capabilities of a SIEM: threat detection, investigation, and time to respond. So that's what it's really going to be helping you improve on compared to if you didn't have a tool that was able to centralize these and run rules against stuff. If you're in an environment with more than a handful of devices, then it sucks trying to do any of that, honestly. One other thing, I don't think they mention it in here, but another term that you might be familiar with or you might have heard is a SOAR. I believe it's SOAR. It's kind of like a SIEM, but then it also kind of has some automated responses that you can do based off of different types of events or alerts that end up hitting. Let's see, some other SIEM features. Security monitoring, kind of talked about that. Threat detection, depending upon the type of rule sets that you have within there. Forensics and incident response. So ideally, if you have all of your data going back to your SIEM and you're keeping it, persisting it for a longer period of time, that will help you in case you actually do have something bad go on in your environment and you need to kind of go back through different types of logs. Log collection, normalization, notifications, alerts, security, incident detection. Yeah, so all of kind of the things that we already talked about. So as I mentioned, we already spun up the machine. It's already up over here, so we can move on to task 2. I will mention for this one, because it is a little bit different than some of the other TryHackMe rooms. You actually don't need to start up an attack box for this. Everything that we're doing is just directly on the Splunk machine that we start up here in task 1. So you don't need to have both the Splunk machine and the attack box. You just need to do the Splunk box itself. All right. Task 2. What do we got going on? So when we access Splunk, this is kind of going to be our default screen here. Kind of going to go through the different sections here to get a little bit of a feel for it. You're going to see system level messages. They're going to be up at the top. Splunk interface settings, progress of jobs, help, and a search feature for find. The ability to switch back and forth between different types of apps is done through the app panel. We're going to take a look at that. The default one that all of these have right off the box is a search and reporting app. Let's see. So if we kind of go just over into this real quick, we can see we have no messages. Settings, we have a bunch of different stuff. So these are going to be system specific settings, knowledge-based stuff. Data inputs, we're going to hit on that a little bit later when we're talking about the different types of logs that we're inputting, how we're receiving them, the different indexes that you can point those to. I don't think that this room necessarily goes too much into the architecture of Splunk, but that's definitely something that's worth checking out as far as understanding the different components, especially if you're working more on like the security engineering side and you might be responsible for maintaining some Splunk architecture. Then you're really going to be dealing with like search heads, which is what really is going to be doing the actual searches, and index servers and the forwarding servers and things like that. Kind of good to get your arms wrapped around those different component parts. I think pretty much if you go to like the Splunk webpage, they're going to have some pretty good architecture breakdowns on ways to do it, and kind of the different type of scaling requirements you need depending upon the amount of data that you have coming in. You can get a free version of this and you can stand it up on one box. You can even use it as a VM, or so I've had Splunk before installed on my iMac, and it runs perfectly fine because I don't really have a lot of data going to it. User and authentication, yeah, if you're doing some administrative stuff on there, then it's good to know about that stuff. All right, so let's see what they were wanting us to do. The next section is the Explore Splunk, and that's going to be add data, Splunk Apps, and some documentation. And then on the home dashboard, there's no dashboards that are displayed because we haven't built any out yet. I think if we go and take a look at that, we just kind of like click into this here. We haven't selected any. They have a whole bunch of different pre-built ones that you can use, although you're probably going to end up either developing some in-house or pulling down some other ones that are kind of templated, that are more specific, especially to security related things. So let's go ahead and take a look at what Splunk Apps are. We'll kind of dive into that a little bit. So any questions so far before we jump into Splunk Apps? If not, then I will go ahead and continue here, but you can always just throw it in the comment section and we'll hit those up as we go through. So as I mentioned in the previous task, a search and reporting is a Splunk app that's installed by default. It's also referred to as a search app. And this is where I kind of had mentioned before about queries and how you look through different types of data. This is actually where you're going to be doing your querying. So if we go and click on the apps over here, it's going to bring this up. Now we aren't going to be able to do anything here because we actually don't have any data that's been ingested yet. An interesting thing to kind of just point out here, you have a few different options that kind of are worth noting as far as the different time frames that you can use. If you want to look at events over the past 24 hours or all time, past month, all these different time things are valuable, especially if you know the specific time frames that you're looking for certain things. And they just have a lot more options when it comes to those types of search specifics. Another thing here that's worth noting is the event sampling. If you want to see everything, then you're going to want to go no event sampling. If you go any of these, and it's kind of like if you've ever done any sampling of like net flow data, then really you're only going to be getting, 1 out of every 10 events or 1 out of every 100 events. For what we're going to be doing, we want to see everything, so we're going to leave it that way. Let's see. So talked about the queries. Each app will have its own navigation menu. So once you do that and add in other apps, then you're going to want to go through and navigate that. So if we go back to the Splunk homepage in the apps panel, there's a cog icon. By clicking on the cog icon, you'll be directed to the Manage Apps page. From this page, you can change various settings properties for the installed apps. Let's look at the properties for the search and reporting app. So we go back here, and we click on this cog. I'll wait for that to load. And kind of see that we have a whole bunch of different apps that are already here built in. What they were talking about is looking at the search and reporting one. We're going to edit properties. Something else worth noting here, once you actually have this in an operational environment and you have a whole bunch of different users and different groups and things like that, sometimes you might run into a case where certain user isn't able to actually access an app that other people have, depending upon the group that they're in and things like that. One thing you might want to take a look at is the permissions for that app to make sure that that user or that group has permissions to actually do stuff with that app and to view it. Let's see, search and reporting, we were talking about edit properties. And so you can see, and this is kind of what they wanted us to take a look at. There's not really too much there as far as what we can do with that. Just change the name, look for updates for the app, if the app is visible or not. So we can also, if you want to change the particular app that you land into when you log in, then you can actually do that under a user preference config file. This is a Windows box, so this is where that file is. One thing with that, I think it gets overwritten whenever you do new updates. So I think that you're actually supposed to put that in a different folder so that it doesn't get overwritten whenever you do updates. Let's see. Oh, okay, here. Best practices for any modifications to the Splunk configs, you should create a directory and place custom configs there. So if we wanted to see that real quick, let's see if we can pop into that. So it was under C, program files, Splunk, Etsy apps user prefs. Etsy apps user prefs default. And just saw that question come in. Is this all taking place in TryHackMe site, correct? Yep, it is. They have a virtual Splunk instance within that room that you spin up. Let's see. Userprefs.conf. We'll use Notepad. Perfect. And here you go. And we can see that. Do not edit this file, right? So they tell you ideally where to place a copy of this if you are going to change anything. And your app order, see they have search be the default one there. So if you wanted to make it be something else, you could do that. All right. For any preference changes that you make, you're going to need to restart the service. Simple enough. And you can install other apps to expand the capabilities. So we can click on Find More Apps or the Splunk Apps to explore what we have there. Now, I think, let's see. If this will work or not. I don't know that their VM actually has access to the internet, and it might not. And if it doesn't, then we're probably not going to be able to see this come up at all, which based off of it spinning like that makes me feel that is the case. If we go manage apps, let's see what else I had. What do they want us to do? So you can either pull it from a Splunk base, or you can let's see, directly install it, pull it from Splunk base, and manually upload it, which then you would use kind of this section here if we were going to install it from a file, right? You can also download the app, unzip it, put it in. Yep, okay. And now there's a Splunk add-on on the desktop. Upload this add-on in the Splunk instance and restart Splunk when prompted. So if we choose this file, Splunk add-on, this is going to be for Microsoft Sysmon. Okay. And you see that that has now been added into the apps. It didn't make us actually restart anything. It didn't ask us to. The question was, what is the folder name for the add-on? And we can see that it is TA Microsoft Sysmon. If you're not familiar with Sysmon, it is a tool set or type of logs within Microsoft that actually lets you see a lot of important stuff that's going on behind the scenes. I think there's a few other, I'm trying to think if we've hit that in any of the Windows labs. I think it was in some of the Red Team labs that was going to be coming up soon, but I don't think that we've really hit that yet. So let's see, TA Microsoft Sysmon. Okay, so drop that in there. Cool. And what was the version? The version was 10.6.2. All right. Let's move on to task 4, dealing with adding data. So we've added an app. Now we're going to look at maybe adding in some log data. So Splunk can ingest any data. As per Splunk documentation, when data is added to Splunk, the data is processed and transformed into a series of individual events. Can get a whole bunch of different types of event logs, as I talked about. You can either use forwarders that you can put on different types of devices, or you can send via syslog, or you can actually pull it locally or upload the files themselves. So here's a kind of a list of different things that we can see as far as data sources. So things such as SNMP events, Nagios, Cisco logs, AWS logs, database logs, things from different types of antivirus, EDRs, Active Directory, different types of operating stuff, VMware. I mean, pretty much anything that you can think of within an IT environment, pretty much are going to be able to ingest it into Splunk. So as we kind of looked at the app, I mentioned that it was for Sysmon logs. So that's what we're going to be doing here, is actually focusing on Sysmon logs. If we look at the add data link from the homepage, let's go back to the homepage. Right here. So we have a few different options that they have here on this box, and then I think they're going to show us a few other ones as well. But so I was mentioning having a forwarder that sends stuff to it. You can actually monitor stuff on box if we wanted to do that. So specific to this Splunk server, or we can manually upload files. We do have a few other options, as I mentioned up here. But this Splunk instance attached, yeah, will only show the upload, monitor, and forward. So that's kind of what we're dealing with. Since we want to look at Windows event logs and sysmon logs from this host system, we want to monitor. And there's going to be some options that we can look at here. So they're going to kind of have us look at this, but it's not going to be available, and we're going to have to do something else. But we'll walk through it. So if we want to do that, then we're going to go monitor. And these are a whole bunch of different things that they kind of already have built out for us to be able to take a look at. Local event logs, remote event logs. If we want to set up syslog, registry monitoring, Active Directory monitoring, there's a whole bunch of different stuff. So we were talking about local event logs, and then different types of Windows event logs. And we wanted to do sysmon, but you see there is no sysmon in there. So what are they going to have us do? We see no PowerShell, we see no sysmon. Another way that we can do it is going under the settings and data inputs. Now, as I'm clicking back and forth, and you can kind of see what I'm going to be doing, but if you do want to go back on this page and look at this, they kind of do have like a little video here that's kind of showing you, in essence, what I'm doing as well. So if you do miss that, you can check this out on here. So we're going to go under settings, data inputs, and then do Windows, Microsoft, sysmon. So let's go. It was under settings and data inputs, data inputs. And then it was going to be local event log collection. And we're going to go under edit. And I think it was Microsoft. Let's see. Keep scrolling down. Microsoft Windows. I think it was sysmon. There's a whole bunch of PowerShell. Almost there. Sysmon operational, all right? So we're going to save that. Okay. Everything there is good. So obviously, if there's different types of logs that you are going to be expecting, then you're going to need to kind of make sure that you're going to be able to collect these in different types of ways. There's obviously best practices and other types of documents that are out there that can kind of walk you through what it is you should be turning on or not turning on. So, but this is the process that you would want to go through with that. So now let's go back and we will actually manually upload some sysmon logs that we have. Here we go, upload. Make sure that we are doing that correctly here. Now it's your turn to add some Splunk. Yep. Okay. Add it to there. And we have the tutorial data here. This is on the desktop. And then we're going to go next. And all of that is fine. We're going to just leave that the way that it is. And submit. And we can go to start searching. So that is going to take us to the search page that we were talking about before. let's go this. We have a whole bunch of events coming in. You can see that they're populating as they're going through. Let's see. And so this asterisk here, I was just doing that. It's going to show all of the events that are there. And we kind of see how it comes in as the various different event logs with timestamps, a whole bunch of different information. They have interesting fields that come up here, but let's answer this question first. I think the question was, how many events are in this source? So 142,571. 42, did I do that wrong? I think we had that right. Let me see. Make sure. Let's take a look. If I had that. The correct answer with that, I'm trying to see. Hey, thanks, Eric. I'll catch you later. Appreciate you dropping in. So the correct answer on this, I'm trying to see where we are getting that from. Upload the Splunk to how many events are in this source. And that might be the issue, is the source. Let's see. The correct answer is going to be 1009,864. I'm not quite sure. Let's see. Yeah. Not quite sure what I'm missing with that, though, as far as why that's differing from 142,571. I must have some additional data added in there. But I'm not going to play around too much with that. We can kind of press on and start digging through these different event logs. Let's see. It's talking about doing the queries in this. So we have the app added on. We have a data source in there. Now we're going to query the data. They're talking about some Windows event logs and sysmon rooms that we haven't done yet, at least on the channel. But if you have, then you might be kind of familiar with using Event Viewer. Actually, I want to say in some of the Windows ones that we have done, we've dug into Event Viewer a bit. So we want to take a look. We're using the asterisk, as I was mentioning before, and change it from 24 hours to all time, which I think we kind of already did. Let's see. I'll let that populate. Okay. And if we want to focus on a particular source or source type, we can kind of do that through through the search bar. So source type being different types of particular event logs, right? So we could actually go source, and you see we can kind of match these based off of the different ones that are already there within this particular index. So we have those there. And then we're kind of looking at source and source type as well as being another way where if you aren't exactly sure, you could click down into these and see what's there. And if you wanted to see specifics of those, it's nice that they kind of give you a count and percentage as well. That's also a good way to be able to see what type of events you know, maybe you have a large amount of a certain type of event coming in. But if we wanted to just see that specifically, then we could just click on that like that, and then it will just show those particular logs. And from the above image, we see the names of each source and the number of events and percentage. Yep, just mentioned that. Top 10 values are visible. Let's start our query with sysmon as the source. So let's go back to this. And we're going to do the sysmon one. And hit the little magnifying glass. Okay. So we had that come in. You select the first event that appeared. Expanding on the event, the details are more readable. Let's make sure that that is. Let's see. Show all 23 lines. I'm kind of able to see some more data with that. It's kind of showing all of those different areas there. Once you expand that, in fact, we can adjust our query just to go with the source and then event ID 12. Let's see. See if those are there. Event ID equals 12. Yeah, it looks like it didn't ingest the data all the correct way, because that should be coming up and should be visible. So let's go. Let's do that again real quick. Just make sure that we have that in there. Let's go back to the main page. A little Splunk troubleshooting on a live stream. Why not? Let's make sure that it did that properly. No, let's go. I don't think that that is. I think that's what we want. I don't think there was a different thing there. Operating structured. I don't think so. I think just using automatic should be fine on that. Let's try that again. Create new index. Review. Should be good. And we will just make sure that the data inputs was there because we did that before. We should have, because we were seeing that. Selected logs, default, yep. And that was all good there. Okay. Let's try that again. Search and reporting. Oh, and let's make sure that we have data sets. And just poking around here for a second, and we'll figure it out. Data inputs. Let me try that one more time. We did that, do that again. Next, automatic. Cool. Uploading. Start searching. Okay, at least we have that there. Now we wanted to go it was source. Let's try that. There we go. And then it was event type or event ID. I think it was 12. Let's try that. We might have been on the wrong. No? XML win event log. Let's see if my syntax is off here somewhere. Does not like that. Okay. Source. And then it was, oh, event ID, capital E. Event ID equals 12. Let's give that a try. Fingers crossed. There we go. Okay. Sorry about that. I need to brush up on my my Splunk query language. I needed to capitalize that. Okay. So now we have we're trying to do a search to try to identify objects from the sysmon logs that we had, and then narrow that down further to a particular event ID, which is event ID 12, dealing with the creation and deletion of registry events. And you see right here, if I had kept on reading there, we would have seen that if you do it in lowercase, it will not work for you. So yeah, there's the lesson of the day. You can also search using keywords. So we could go and look for, in this case, Google update.exe. So let's go Google update.exe. And we see that we have that hitting here. So these are all of the events that we're matching under sysmon logs that had the text Google update.exe within them. And unlike fields, keywords are not case sensitive. Cool. So instead of manually keying in the keyword can also be added by clicking the value you would like to add to the existing query. So if we went like, let's see, I'm trying to find where that is in here. I mean, even if we wanted to just include that, we could add it to the search. So that's what I'm talking about. You can click on the different fields and it allows you to add it to the search. And now we're searching for something within the sysmon logs that has both Google updates.exe and matches the syswal 64. Okay. There's multiple keywords in your query, and there's an implicit and between them, which is what we just did. So if we wanted to, in this case, just go Google update.exe and Chrome installer exe. So let's go Chrome installer.exe. That was Chrome underscore installer. And then we have the Google update.exe and Chrome installer there. Yep, see, so it's matching both of those. And again, we can click on it and add it to the search if we wanted to. A keyword doesn't have to be a word necessarily, but it can be a phrase. So we're going to search on this failed password for sneezy. So the user sneezy. So let's go and do that. So again, this kind of makes sense if you knew a certain user account was failing all the time, or you were looking for something specific to a specific user. Then if you kind of know the string that you want to match on, then you could do that for sneezy. We'll do that. Just hit enter. And we can see how that kind of hit on all of these different logs coming from these web logs. So let's get back to the sysmon logs and look at Google Update again. So we were doing source, sysmon, and Google update.exe. And within that, we're going to look at the interesting fields sidebar. And these are all different fields within these logs. And you can actually, I think what they're going to have us do here in looking at these is look at there's the different values that come up for those different fields, right? So unique values. And then again, we can add those into the query as well. So if we wanted to hypothetically go rule name, and it's going to bring up all of these. A few different things. If we hit the selected on this, then that should end up popping that up here now. So it's like identified within the event log. We can see what it is. And then also we could, as I mentioned, you could click on these and it can add that up to the search as well. So now we're looking in the sysmon logs. That's also matching on the string Google update exe and hitting this particular rule. So you can kind of see how you can kind of stack these different search terms on top of themselves. And the other useful thing with that is it's not only being able to do research to be able to dig into things to end up finding things within your environment. You can also then end up taking a similar type of approach to creating different types of rules for different types of events when they come in that are meaningful to you. So you can kind of see when we did that, it ended up adding the rule name, and I kind of pointed that out. Added the rule name. Yep. Okay. So now we're going to kind of answer a few questions here. So we're going to look for failed password. So I'm just going to go. Okay, so that is a lot. And the question was, what is the source type? And the source type, we can see that there's only one source type that came up matching that, is ww1/secure. Okay. In the search result, look at the patterns tab. And we can see 3 different patterns based off of a sample of 11,000 events. And so these are kind of like ones that we're seeing more frequently, I guess is kind of what they're getting at with that. What is the last username in this tab? MYUAN. No, where did the M go? There we go. And then we can then pivot with that and look for how many failed login events with that particular username. Password. And then we should be able to go MYUAN. And so for that, looks like 48. Cool. No? Let's see. What did I mess up on there? Maybe it's different types. Password. Or was that asking? Let's see. Search for failed password events for the specific username. See why that's kind of thrown off there. Host source type 48. They want, I wonder if they give a search for failed password event for this specific, I mean, I don't know why that's not coming up. Before that's coming up as 48 when I do it that way, unless I'm missing something. Failed password or failed login? Yeah, failed password, right? And the correct answer, I'm looking at something else, is 16. I'm not quite sure why it's 16 though. I'm must be messing something up, but we'll just put in 16 is what they're looking for just to keep moving on. But you can see with that, unless I'm misunderstanding what the question is, we got 48 events that are there for that. So what can you do? All right. We are almost done. We do Sigma rules. Any questions up to this point? Love Splunk, cut my teeth on it. Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things where you just got to get in and kind of mess around with it. Most of the stuff that I've done with it in the past has been a bit more on the IT operational side than on the security side. But once you kind of have your dashboards set up and you know what it is you're looking for, it's a pretty awesome tool. So what is Sigma? Sigma is a generic and open signature format that allows you to describe relevant log events in a straightforward manner. The rule format is flexible, easy to write, and applicable to any type of log file. So pretty much they're going to have these Sigma rules, and then you can actually take those, and there's a tool we're going to look at where it can write those into different types of searches for different types of SIEMs. And that's what we're going to do. I feel like the search language is pretty easy to pick up, pretty expansive to deploy and maintain, though. Yes. I mean, it does help you out a bit. I mean, so it does try to, fill in the blanks on some stuff. So at least you aren't completely left in the dark. But yeah, it definitely takes using it for a bit to kind of get familiar with things. So as far as sharing different types of queries between different SIEMs, that can be kind of difficult. So this tool will allow you to kind of create queries in a Sigma format that can be shared with different teams that maybe don't use Splunk. And for instance, if the rules are written in Sigma and can be transferred back and forth, then it can be shared along with indicators of compromise and YAR rules for threat intelligence purposes. So talking about the different SIEMs that it supports. and then different projects and products that use it. MISP is a very well-known one. And there's also an app for it. Sigma searches. Sigma rules are written in YAML. If you followed any of the DevOps stuff that we did, specifically like with the Juniper stuff, when was that? End of last year. Then you remember us talking about XML and JSON and YAML. So this will look somewhat familiar to you when we pull up what the rule looks like. But YAML's super human friendly way of being able to standardize data from a programming language perspective. So let's take a look at this. The tool is uncoder.io. Kind of already have that here. So what we're pretty much going to do is you select whatever the particular rule is, or you search for different types of rules. It will pop it up as what it is, written in any of these different languages or tool sets, and then allow you to pick another one to translate it into. So in this case, we're going to be translating from Sigma to Splunk. And you have Splunk Alert or Splunk, some other stuff that you can do, ArcSight, Carbon Black, Corelight, CrowdStrike, I mentioned Elasticsearch, FireEye. I mean, they have a lot of different things. Sysmon, PowerShell. So a lot of different options. So this is a pretty cool tool that will allow you to kind of standardize different types of search queries that you'd be doing across different platforms. So let's go and do users added to local administrators is converted here into Splunk query. So that's pretty straightforward. Sigma. Let's get rid of that. Users added to local administrators. This is kind of going to give you a Sigma rule. It's going to tell you what it's going to be triggering on, the log source, what it's using for its detection. So in this case, it's hitting on event ID 4732 and matching the group name administrators, right? And then so if we wanted to see that as a Splunk rule, then this is kind of like what we would want to do as far as taking this and using it to query whatever logs we have within the environment. So let's actually run through these questions here. So kind of doing the same exact process. We're going to just be looking for APT 29 or the Sigma rule for that. So Sigma APT 29 and let's to Splunk translate. And so this is detecting suspicious PowerShell. They put a reference in here, which is cool. Some tags for it. The log source again, and then actually what the detection is actually matching on. So that's really the string that it's looking for, coming from PowerShell within a Windows box. So the question was, what is the Splunk query for that? So we're just going to take that and copy that over. And there we go. And use GitHub Sigma repo. What is a Splunk query for Cactus Torch remote thread creation? Let's see. Let's see, what's that? So that is going to be, let's see. I don't know if they actually want us to go actually to the repo for that on GitHub. We're not going to take the time to do that, so we'll just press on. I guess we could just Google it real quick. Let's see. And the question was, they were looking for, what is a Splunk query for that? I think that looks like that is going to be, let's see. I won't spend too much time on this. Yeah, okay. Well, I found the answer doing some other searches, so we'll just put that in there and move on. Because we are almost at the end and want to wrap it up. So we're talking about dashboards. Our panels displaying different data visualization in one view. You can kind of take the data, the raw data, and put it into different ways to visualize it, obviously. So it could be a chart or other types of graphics. If you've been inside of a SOC or even just a type of monitoring environment for IT operations, normally there'll be different types of tool sets that will have some type of graphical views depicting large amounts of pertinent data, right? So just kind of easy to look at things, kind of get a snapshot and be able to understand, what's going on at a very, very high level. So let's see. So we're going to create a dashboard. But first we're going to create a search query for that. So it's going to be the sysmon stuff again. So remember source, XML that, and then I think we're going to pipe it top limit equals 5. So the 5, top 5, and then by event ID. Top equals 5 event ID. I think we got that right. Top limit equals 5 event ID. Okay, sweet. Query that. And then we kind of have this broken down into the different event IDs, the amount for each of those event IDs, and then a percentage. So we could take this and we could turn this into a graph. Well, we could take this and turn this into a dashboard, I should say, which will present it as a graph in different ways. So what we are going to want to do with that is look at visualizations there. And visualizations. So we can kind of see that. It's a nice way to do that. Okay. Events pattern statistics. Okay. And then we're going to go save as dashboard panel. And we can call it whatever we want to call it. We can go TryHackMe dashboard. THM dashboard. And was there anything else we need to change with this? Again, you can get into some permission stuff there. Inline search, no action, column chart. Yeah, okay. We should be able to do that. Now, we have a dashboard. And obviously you can take and add additional types of information into your dashboards. You can put multiple things. But this is just kind of a very, very basic way for you to be able to take a whole lot of different log events, create a query based off of the things that are important to you. In this case, we want to see the top 5 sysmon events. And then we want to kind of be able to look to see which ones are most pertinent, which ones are happening more often than not. And then another thing with that, we could set it as a home dashboard. And now on the front page, we now have a dashboard that's coming up here. So yeah, and we can go back and we can modify this a few different ways. We can open it within the search, right? So that's kind of good. If we want to actually see the particular events, then we can drill down into that. And now we're back here where we can do other types of searches. So that's kind of how you would use the dashboard in a way where you're able to visualize things, see things that's important, and then drill back down into the log event data. And then, yeah, and I'll be happy. Hey, Crystal, what are you talking about as far as case sensitivity? Which one? You're talking about the search strings as far as when we were doing like here with event ID and stuff like that? I think that was it for that. What is the highest event ID? Well, we have that. Let's go back to dashboards. The highest event ID is 11. Right, has the most. All right, we are almost at the end. This next one for alerts, sadly, we aren't able to do this based off of the version of Splunk that we have here. So we're just going to kind of talk through this real quick as far as what the alerting workflow would be. So if you want to trigger alert based off of specific types of conditions. So it's almost very similar to your queries that you have. You're kind of just doing that and then attaching a particular alert based off of those things. So what do you want to track in this case? We're talking about, like, let's say it's an external IP brute forcing a web page. We want to be alerted whenever this IP is actively attacking our stuff. So how often do we want to be aware of this? Well, you can do a few different things here. You can do a scheduled alert. So maybe you schedule it to only go off once a day or something like that. But in this case, it is a little bit more pertinent, so we probably want to do it in real time whenever it happens. Problem with that is, let's say they're attacking us a lot. We don't want to just be over inundated or even cause a denial of service attack on ourselves by getting too many emails. So we can do a trigger condition and throttling. So, if it is a certain amount of failed password events in under a minute, then we can generate the alert. We also can suppress new alerts for a certain period of time. So that would be suppressed triggering, right? So that way it's not just continuous alerts firing off. And then what ends up happening with this, whenever this happens, is going to be your alert action. In most cases, that's going to be email, or it could even be firing off some type of message, whether it's syslog or something else, to another type of application that you might be waiting to get certain types of messages from. So pretty kind of straightforward. It's too bad in this free version we can't do that. You can with the free trial if you want to do that, or the 60-day trial. But like I said, really the main thing with that is making sure that you have your queries straight as far as what it is that you're looking for, and then coming up with a good methodology as far as what's really something that's going to be useful to yourself or your team without over inundating. Let's try this again. Without over inundating them with too many email alerts, which I think is something that we all do and have all happened in the past. So we want to try and be a little bit more cognizant of being effective with this. All right, so that is that. Let's see. We covered that. And then in conclusion, yeah, so that's the Splunk 101 room. There's another one for sure that's a little bit more advanced that we can do next. If you guys like this, you found this useful, we can definitely hit those up. And then they have a few other rooms. I don't know if these are in the cyber defense learning path, but I know that this particular room we did today and another one that I was looking at are within the cyber defense path. So let's see. All right. So anybody have any questions, comments on any of that before we wrap it up? I appreciate everybody hanging out and throwing comments in the chat, asking questions. Hopefully this was useful to you. Oh, thanks for the super chat. Appreciate that. Appreciate that. I think, we learned a few things with that. Obviously, I got derailed there for a good 5 minutes or so with the case sensitivity and stuff like that on those queries. So that's a good lesson that hopefully you won't make yourself when you're going back through this or doing this in an operational environment. Let's see, anything else? I think that's about it. Make sure you smash the like, share the video with other folks. I'm going to keep doing some more blue team stuff with this for sure. Still going to circle back and hit a few more red team stuff because I think we were probably about, I don't know, 75% of the way through the Pentest Plus learning path. So we're pretty much almost done with stuff, but it would be kind of cool to get into a little bit more of the defensive stuff. So maybe I'll just keep going back and forth every week between red and blue team stuff. So, all right. If nobody else has any other comments or questions, then hope everybody has a good week. Take care of yourselves, study up, go have some fun, and we will talk soon. All right. Bye.